Good morning. I'm sorry I can't be with you this morning, but I've got the plague, and much as we like sharing as Christians, I don't want to share this with you. You would not thank me. Um, so, I've got a few thoughts that I want to share on the theme of worship. I hope I don't sound too croaky, but we're thinking about worship today. And my answer to the question, what do we come to church for, is we come to worship together. Both words, worship together, are important. So, here's a few thoughts to get us started on this theme, and we'll pick up on the theme of worship again next week when I trust I will be with you. So, why worship? There are a few reasons why we need to worship. One is it is commanded. God tells us we must worship Him. Not just that we must worship, but specifically worship Him, no other gods. Another reason is, well, everybody does. It's hardwired into us to reach out to someone or something higher. Whatever we give the greatest value to, that is what we worship. Everybody worships. It's just a question of who or what we worship. And worship because God is worth it. The English word worship literally means worthship, giving God what He is worth. And that, from our point of view, is to give Him our all and to give Him our best. Worship includes various activities. There are two main words in the Bible for worship. One means bowing down, submission, and the other means serving. Worship also includes sacrifice and celebration. So when we worship, we are bowing down and submitting to God, we're serving Him, we are sacrificing, we are giving Him our best, and we are celebrating His goodness. Now, there are 168 hours in a week, and you're probably awake for at least 100 of them. So here's something to think about. Maybe you can discuss this after the talk. How many of your 100 waking hours in a week do you spend in church? And I'm thinking about together for worship, not activities like cafe, but specifically for worship, or perhaps together, perhaps on Zoom even for prayer. How many of those hours in a week do you spend in church or together in activities that you might call worship? And where are you and who are you with for the rest of the week? If worship means giving God what He is worth, He is plainly worth more than an hour or two in worship. Worship means giving Him our whole lives, not just an hour or two in church. So, if church is only a small portion of the week, and we need to be worshipping God all the time, right through the week, why is church important? Why is it important to meet as we do on Sundays? Well, it's important because we need a focus. It's a bit vague to say worship all the time and just leave it at that. Church gives us that focus on God, and that is something that we can carry through to the rest of the week with God, wherever we are. And church is important because it is coming together. And that's the second word that I'm thinking about, worship together. In worship, we look up to God, but in worship together, we also look to each other. We come together, we encourage each other. So worship together is important. It's part of life for people to come together to celebrate. People come together to celebrate birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, special occasions. And at church, we come together every week to celebrate the goodness of God and the salvation he has given us. We come together on a Sunday, which is the day that Jesus rose from the dead, and there is no better thing for us to celebrate. It's important to come together because as humans, we were made to be together. We were made to worship God, but we were also made to be together. As Christians, we are brought together as the people of God. He has made us his people, one family of God, to celebrate his goodness together. It's also important to come together because Christian believers are in a minority. We're under a lot of pressure to conform to a world that ignores God, so we need to encourage each other. Sunday worship is a time when we come together to encourage each other and together to celebrate the goodness of God. The Anglican Eucharistic prayer, so that's communion prayer, says, "It is not only right, it is our duty and our joy at all times and in all places to give you thanks and praise." It is our duty and our joy to give God thanks and praise. Church is here to help us worship God at all times, with our whole lives, at all times and in all places wherever we are. But these special times of coming together help us to do that at all times and in all places. So we worship God together today, but we also need to think about, how are you going to worship God tomorrow? How are you going to worship God tomorrow? Whatever you do, do it for the Lord. That is worship. Colossians 3:23 says, "Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men." And Romans 12 verse 1, which I shared in the encouragement yesterday, in the Message translation, it says this: "So, here's what I want you to do, God helping you. Take your ordinary, everyday life, your sleeping, eating, going to work, and walking around life, and place it before God as an offering. Embracing what God does for you is the best thing you can do for him." So worship God in whatever you do tomorrow and every day. And God willing, I'll see you for worship together next week, and we'll think some more about this theme. God bless.